Have you ever been crazy enough to stab your mother? Well, apparently, this disturbed daughter stabbed her mother after she refused to recite a prayer, according to police. But let's get into the story. But either way, this is going to be absolutely nuts. And if you love your mother, feel free to hit the like button because that is so absurd, right? So, a Lower East Side daughter stabbed her mother 5 times after she refused to recite the Santeria religious prayer, cops and sources said Wednesday. Now, I believe Santeria I think that's the god of the dead or something. I can't remember. So, the disturbing attack unfolded around noon Tuesday in the family's apartment on Madison Street, according to cops. So the 33-year-old woman, who was identified as Jacqueline Cordero, grabbed a butcher knife from the kitchen and threatened to kill her 60-year-old mother if she didn't say the Afro-Cuban prayer, police and sources said. She refused, so she stabbed her once in the stomach and then 4 more times, according to police. Right? Like, how are you so pissed off at your mother for not saying a prayer that you're going to stab her not once, not twice, but 5 times? Like, how nuts are you? So the wounded mother was eventually able to escape and call 911 from a neighbor's apartment, police said. Now, you gotta give props to the mother because, being 60 years old and having the strength to escape her psycho daughter to be able to call the cops for her safety is amazing. Props to her. Now, I really hope that she's okay. So Cordero was taken into custody on the roof of the building, charged with assault, and taken to Bellevue Hospital, according to police. Now here's another thing, right? Because if you're not watching this, she's basically like in this photo, right? You could tell that she's basically nuts, right? Like you could tell that she is nuts. This is the face of a nutty person, right? But it's also kind of weird, like why are you basically half naked stabbing your mother in the kitchen? Like, there's like a whole bunch of things super odd about this. And the thing is, like, they also showed the mother as well, but like, that's just crazy. Like, the thing is, like, for crimes when it happens like to your family members, like between family members, it's like, I feel like there's so much more betrayal in that. Like if you were to see the video right on 40inbox.com on the YouTube channel, looking at the mother, like you could see like she's sad, but it's more like disappointed as well. It's like what the hell kind of thing. Like, did my daughter really stab me? But that's pretty much the story. But this is kind of crazy, right? But again, there's so many things wrong with this if we were to break it down. Right. And I'm going to try to spin this into like a more financial perspective because 1, this is depressing. And then 2, this should basically never happen. Right. So I have a feeling that if this lady, the daughter, right, was in a more healthy financial situation where she was able to pay for mental health, that maybe she would not do something like this. Maybe she wouldn't like step over the line of stabbing her own mother, right? That could be like an income thing. It could be her possibly living like paycheck to paycheck, right? I don't know her like actual personal financial situation, but the thing is there tends to be a lot more mental health issues in communities or families that are making less money, right? Because you just have less opportunities to deal with issues, and that's the thing, right? And again, so basically this was the family's apartment, right? So I got a feeling there's probably like a whole bunch of people living in this apartment, not just the mother, not just possibly the father, not just her. There's probably like a whole bunch of people sharing this apartment. This is probably, I'm just going to guess, maybe in the ghetto, maybe in like just like a lower income area, probably with a little bit more crime, a little bit more mental health, a little bit more, homeless situation, right? Or potentially where like illegal drug use is an issue, right? And if that's the case, sometimes these types of situations could completely be avoided by simply having a better financial situation. Because let me put it in this way, right? Let's say that someone does have some mental health issues, right? But they're making more money, right? To the point where they're able to pay for a house or apartment on their own. Like they have the capability of taking care of themselves. They have the capability of dealing, buying their own groceries, paying for their car insurance, paying for their car, basically being very independent, right? That would, one, give them a little bit more confidence that they're doing okay. Almost like what's the best way to put it? It'd end up putting people in like a mental state. It's like, hey, like my life looks good. I might be dealing with something right now. I might, be feeling kind of depressed, but my life is pretty good. My life is doing good. My life isn't going to complete dog crap, right? But if you're living paycheck to paycheck and you're having to share an apartment with like your whole family, right? And you're basically facing like this wall of like your life, basically saying like, oh my God, my life is going to amount to nothing. That could end up potentially breaking someone's mental state and just causing them to go very downhill very quickly to the point where they potentially stab their own mother. I'm not saying that's actually what happened, but it could play a part, right? Like a lot of people don't really understand just how much a bad financial situation can actually play a part in someone's mental state, right? Because if you got a good job and you're not living paycheck to paycheck, like you feel like safe, you feel comfortable, and you can feed yourself, mentally, you're going to be a far better place than someone who's living paycheck to paycheck unless something crazy like COVID happens, and then you basically end up completely destroying your lives because you're living paycheck to paycheck, you can't afford anything, then you become homeless, and then you're basically 100% screwed. And then you start doing drugs because you're homeless, and then it's just like a crazy downward spiral, right? Because this is the thing that people really don't understand is that like, this is why you need to build a very strong financial foundation so that something like this never even has the chance to even becoming a possibility, right? Because if you're living pretty well, not living paycheck to paycheck, not having a crazy amount of debt that you feel like you're going to live for the rest of your life trying to pay that off, and you have money coming in of surplus, you can afford to go like pay for a therapist and be like, hey, I'm feeling kind of like effed up right now. Can you help me? Right? Or maybe you could pay to go see a doctor to make sure that everything is okay, that you're making sure that, okay, I'm going to do like a yearly check, make sure that everything looks fine and, I'm looking okay. Same thing with going to the dentist for like a yearly checkup that you could pay for it. It's not a big deal. It's not like going to put you below living paycheck to paycheck and into basically poverty, right? So it's like people really need to understand just how big of a deal having a very strong financial foundation. And if you're someone who is struggling with a financial foundation where you're basically facing a lot of debt, you're living paycheck to paycheck, or you're making so much money but you never have any of it by the end of the month or end of the year, right? Like you make so much money, but you feel poor, like you have like no actual money in your bank account, go down below, go to 40unbox.com and check out the secret to mastering your money, because anyone can master their money to the point where they can actually build a strong financial foundation so that you could at least, at the very minimum, feel safe and comfortable in your life and not end up having to like live a life where you're having to share an apartment with your family members and then you end up going crazy and stabbing a family member. So either way, see you in future episodes. Feel free to contact us at 40unbox.com as well with your thoughts about this situation. What do you think might have caused this? And we'll see you in future episodes. By the way, share this with someone who like just wants to see something kind of surprising today.